Interviewing can be such a tricky process, with so many things running through your mind as in, am I solving this design challenge correctly? Am I impressing my potential employer? But there's one question that we forget to ask ourselves. Is this company right for me? Today, I speak with my colleague and friend, Anna Zheng, design educator and designer, of sharing our own personal experiences with companies that we've interviewed at and some of the things that we've noticed as red flags.
I was interested in this job and I reached out to the director on Slack. Then eventually we had a good conversation that led into an informal interview. And eventually I moved on to the final round, which was just another conversation with the team. So it's like a group panel interview. It was a full 2-hour interview. A red flag I noticed was everyone was dropping off like after half an hour to the hour mark. And even the director left the first half hour. During that final interview, I felt like my time was totally wasted when everyone was dropping like flies. That's a red flag if a company is not respecting your time, especially through a remote call or even like an interview at any point of your career or at any job.
And was it remote?
Yeah, it was remote.
Oh, that makes it even worse when you're interviewing with people who are not engaged. In person, you can really read that and like help facilitate or like engage them in other ways. But when it's remote and people who are interviewing you are not engaged, it's so awkward. Like, what are you supposed to do?
Something was a little bit off. Like, if no one's asking questions, like I even paced my presentations to a point where, okay, I'm gonna stop at discovery. Any questions here? No? Okay, let me move on to like the product thinking or strategy phase and all the way down to like wireframes and visual design. And no one was really like taking apart, even though I was like really emphasizing some of the stakes and some of the hurdles I had to go through in this project, especially being the only designer, and they just kind of didn't really seem to care. Like this whole interview was a chore for them.
Oh, that's so awkward and rude and also uncomfortable, like from your point.
But what have you noticed recently from your own like job search?
Yeah, something that I can immediately think of. I was specifically talking to the lead designer who was building his own team, and I didn't find out about the design challenge until I was there in an office whiteboarding with him and realized I was like, oh, this prompt is so specific to this company that I don't even know how it works. It was essentially a whiteboarding challenge where I was supposed to design an interface at the end and propose some kind of solution for them. What was really awkward about that experience was that this person showed up about 20 minutes late to this whiteboarding challenge. So I was waiting outside for like 20 minutes and we ended up going into this like office room, and midway through the challenge, we got kicked out and we ended up going into a coffee shop to finish up the challenge. And the person who was interviewing me was definitely very distracted because it was loud. There were so many people around us, and it felt like I had failed that challenge at that moment when I was in this coffee shop. I was trying to ask him questions and his attention was elsewhere. Ultimately, I came out of that. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna hold my head high, obviously, and thank him for his time after the design challenge. And I was supposed to take home whatever I created, and he gave me 72 hours to create an interface for it. When I sent over the designs and I was like, okay, I'm done with this challenge, this is fine, hopefully I'll move on. And this was like me at the halfway point as well. And so the next stage would have been me interviewing with the other, I think, software engineers and the technical team. I get a response about 2 days later, and it's a laundry list of visual design corrections he wants me to make. That's when I was like, ooh, red flag, huge red flag. You either like gotta tell them like no, or you have to ask them like where this kind of material is going, if they're gonna use your design, or you know, maybe this is not the right company you want to work for. When startups or the hiring manager wants you to do a design challenge to show your skills, I've noticed that sometimes companies will ask for specific kinds of challenges that are very, very specific about the company and its business model, especially when you're hiring junior level designers who may not know that that is a red flag, to maybe just like question it or ask like, hey, like what are you gonna do with this kind of material? Just making sure that you're protecting yourself and that the startup is not gonna take advantage of the fact that you're doing unpaid labor through an interview process. If you feel like someone or a company is trying to take advantage of you, maybe trust that instinct and really think about like, is this the type of company I would want to work for?
When I started out in design, I remember I had a design presentation at the final round of my interview, and I had to present it 3 times in a row.
Why?
The COO was there, and he was waiting for a designer to come in, and he just said, hey, why don't you just present it to me right now? Then the designer came in 20 minutes later, and he said, oh, can you please repeat the presentation again? I'm like, okay. And then 30 minutes later, CEO came in. I'm like, oh, hey, and he said, can you please repeat this presentation again? And I'm like,
that's unfortunate because that puts you in a very awkward position where you have to respond in a way. Did you say no?
at that time, I didn't have the guts to tell it in front of a CEO. But if I could go back and do that, I would have done that. But no, I just complied and went with a third round.
It's hard to say no in that position because you're getting cornered by the CEO who has the most power in this company. Yeah, feels like the company does not respect your time, but as like a potential employee, then who knows how they're gonna treat you and your time when you are a true employee. Yeah, I think the ultimate point to this is that you're allowed to walk away from opportunities, you're allowed to say no to opportunities, you're allowed to be picky. Like, even though we are in this current state with the economy, all we have is ourselves and all we have is our own dignity. And I would hope that everyone who is pursuing design or creativity are respectful of their time in the other way around as well.
I think the last thing I want to end with is give yourself permission to have a voice, have your own power, have your own decision to walk away from something that's not going to help you.
Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you like what you saw, please subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. For more product design and UX related content, please check out videos on my left. And if you have any ideas or topics you'd like me to touch upon, comment below on this video and let's see what we could collaborate with. Thanks.